Hey guys, Sarah here from Work Life Glue, and today I thought I would talk all about how to plan for maternity leave as an in-home childcare provider. Now, I've been an in-home childcare provider for a little over a year and a half now, and I'm pregnant with our second daughter, ready to give birth any day now, especially when you're watching this. I don't even know, she might already be born. But I just wanted to come on here and just be candid with you guys about how to plan and how I'm planning in multiple ways, and you will see as you watch this video what I mean by that when it comes to maternity leave. Now, as a childcare provider, it's a lot different when it comes time to take leave because you are self-employed. It's not like you have FMLA, you don't have an employer, you don't have like a guaranteed amount of time off, you don't get paid time off unless you've figured that out in your contract and stuff like that. So it can be kind of tricky, it can be kind of scary. So I just want to talk about my experience and what has worked for me financially and as well as in my business with the parent. So the very first tip I will give you that I'm really glad I did is to have a policy in place before you even think about having a baby. That way when the time comes, it's already there, and parents should have read that already when they signed your contract and your policy handbook. And so they should kind of expect that that might be something that might happen in your family, that you are thinking of maybe having more children, because why would you have a maternity leave policy if you're not going to have children? So I think my family's kind of new. We were a young family. I do childcare. I probably am going to want more. So it wasn't totally something that blindsided them, and I had a policy in place to stand on once I told my parents, so nobody could really come back at me like, you can't take any time off, that wasn't in your policies. And what I would recommend is actually giving yourself more leeway in your policies than you actually plan to do, just in case something went wrong or you change your mind, end up saving more money, or parents are more flexible than you realize, so you have more wiggle room. So in my policy handbook, in the maternity leave section, I said I will take up to 12 weeks unpaid maternity leave, and I will let parents know when I am 12 weeks pregnant. And I ended up I planned to take 8 weeks unpaid, and I told them when I was 12 weeks pregnant. I think I might go back and revise that to say I will tell them by the time I'm 16 weeks pregnant. It really depends on your pregnancies, your body, but I know some people have had a hard time getting pregnant, or they've had a hard time with loss. So the 12 weeks may not be enough time for you to feel comfortable to share that with the families, in case something, God forbid, something did happen with the baby. You don't have to like tell them, you know, you lost the baby. So if you want to do that, that's totally fine. I would just recommend giving yourself more time than you actually think you'll need. That way you're covered. Another thing I would recommend is that you inform the parents as soon as you are comfortable. The sooner the better, but also make sure you truly are comfortable with the timing. So I told my parents when I was 12 weeks. At that point, I felt comfortable that the pregnancy was going well, that I probably wasn't going to miscarry, and so I felt confident to let them know at that point. And I was super nauseous, and so I just wanted them to know, just in case I did throw up or something and the kids went home and told them, that they wouldn't think I'm like dying or something, or I don't know. But you know, you don't want your parents to hear that you're like throwing up during the day. So I just wanted them to know so they were aware and so they could start planning. So I was 12 weeks pregnant when I told my daycare parents, and I'll probably give birth around 40, 41, 42 weeks. So that's a lot of time to plan, that I felt comfortable knowing they had a lot of notice. What I did when I told my parents, I either told them in person or I called them if they weren't coming that day. It ended up being a snowstorm the day I planned to tell my parents, and so I just couldn't wait any longer, so I just planned to call them all that day and tell them. I don't think you should send out a letter or a text or a Facebook message. I think something like that you probably want to do in person, as hard as it can be. So I told my parents, each one individually, and I told them, you know, I totally understand if, you know, you guys want to find new care, but I really love your family and hope you will stick around. This is how long I was pregnant with my first daughter. This is when I went into labor or was induced. This is how long I plan to be pregnant with this one. And just basically give them as much information that I think they need to know, that I'm comfortable sharing, just because it does really affect their family. So I wanted them to have as much information as possible so they can make good decisions. And then I also printed out a whole sheet detailing like everything, so that they had it to look back on, because it would be a long time before the baby came. So I told them basically the same things, how far along I was, when was my due date, how my pregnancy went the last time, so they kind of had an idea of how it might go this time. The dates I think I might have the baby, so I said I probably will have her sometime in September. I'm due September 7th, but based on my last pregnancy, I'll probably have her sometime between September 7th and September 21st, because I can go to 42 weeks with this one. I told them I plan to stay open until the baby comes unless something health related happens. I plan to take 8 weeks off unpaid, and then I also outlined in there how I was going to handle any paid days off that were already scheduled during that time, since I scheduled my days off in the end of the year prior. So in 2016 I sent out all the days off for 2017, and a few of those days fell when the baby was supposed to come, and when I made the calendar I wasn't pregnant. So I told them I will forfeit any days that are paid that fall in my maternity leave. So if I have the baby before Labor Day, then I won't get paid for that. If I have the baby and I'm on maternity leave for, I think I had like 2 paid days off during that time, I'm forfeiting those, and I said I will not move them to another date. But any other date that I'm still open, that I'm closed and it's paid, it will be expected to be paid. So that's how I did it. You can do it however you want, but I just felt the most comfortable forfeiting those. And I chose to do unpaid for my whole leave. Some people save their paid days off for that, or they work it out so they're paid a little bit. I just personally didn't feel comfortable having them pay me for a time when they're definitely going to have to use somebody else. And then I also put in there what I expect from the parents. I told them, if you are planning to leave and not come back after the baby, please let me know as soon as possible. And I told them by June, if they know, that would be a great time to tell me. And I said, I promise, you have it in writing, that I will not give up your spot before the baby comes. So I was guaranteeing parents they could stay until the baby comes, even if they're not coming back. And I just told them this is so that I don't have to be interviewing families during my maternity leave when I'm trying to recover and bond with the baby and figure out this time. And that way we're, you know, being respectful of each other. So far everybody's coming back, so we should be good, but we'll see. And then I also have encouraged parents, and in that letter said, you know, if you could let me know what your plan is during that time, when you plan to leave, when you plan to come back, if you are, just so I can plan financially and plan for activities and stuff like that. And every parent's been really respectful of that, so it's been really helpful. And then that was all on paper. I kept a copy so that we're all on the same page and they had something to look back on as well. Another thing I would advise any provider to do is to plan your finances right away. I think it's hard to do before you have the baby. You could definitely try, but it's so hard to know when you'll actually get pregnant, how long it will take, how the pregnancy will go. So as soon as we found out we were pregnant, we sat down with the budget and figured out a plan. And I have a whole video on how we plan for that, and I'll link it below. It's on our other channel, Marital Glue. But definitely check that out because it actually shows our budget. But basically what I did, just a very basic way to do this, with any job, whether you're going to be, whether you're employed or not, if you're having unpaid leave, is you figure out your expenses for a month, and then you multiply that by however many months you're going to be off, and then you subtract any income that will be coming in. So I was taking 2 months off, so I figured out 1 month of expenses. I doubled that for 2 months, and then I subtracted my husband's income for those 2 months so that I would know whatever number I was left with is what I would need to save that to cover anything else that we would need. And then you take that number of what you need, and then you divide that by however many months until you have the baby, and that's how much to save each month. That's a very simple way of doing it, and so far so good. We've had a lot of changes and stuff since then, but we are on target to have a fully funded baby fund for the maternity leave. And then my last thing is just try to be as upfront with parents as possible. It is a very personal thing, and it is hard to separate work and life with childcare, because your baby and your birth do affect the parents. So I just tried to keep my parents as updated as possible. We did have a kind of a a very big scare actually, with our daughter, with her ultrasound, and thinking she may have trisomy 18, ended up being negative. But I did let the parents know that, just so they would know, you know, I'm having kind of a hard time right now. I've kept them updated that the pregnancy is going well, just so they know, you know, I probably will go to my due date. And then if something were to happen, I will let them know, because it really does affect them. So just try to be as open as possible as you can be, as you're comfortable being, because this does affect them. And just try to be understanding that, you know, they may need to find care other place because they may not be able to find temporary backup care. And just try to be as understanding as possible, because it is hard when you're taking time off. It may be hard for them. They may not want to leave, but they may not have another choice. So I've just tried to be really understanding and go with the flow as much as possible, even though it is income and it can be kind of stressful. And my last tip is just to do what is best for your family. At the end of the day, your daycare families will do what is best for their family. You need to think of your family first and foremost. You can't be a good mom, you can't be a good provider, you can't be a good wife if you are putting everybody else first. And so you really need to think, especially when you're pregnant, what is best for my family? What do I need? How much time do I need to recover? How much time can we take as a family financially? And what do I need to do to be the best mom and provider I can be? Because in the end, everybody wins in that case. They may not feel like they're winning if you take 12 weeks off, but if it means you're going to be fully recovered and fully ready to have the kids back, and you wouldn't be at 8 weeks, then really they're not winning in that situation. So you want to take the time you need and do what you need to do for your family. If you guys have any tips or questions about this topic, please leave them in the comments below. Keep the conversation going. This is the first time I've done this, and it's not over yet. I'm not to my maternity leave yet when I'm filming this video, so I will keep you guys posted on how it goes. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye guys.